back. It's been another deadly weekend. And the Ministry of Transport, well, they said this weekend past, they ordered a 24-hour operation to try and reduce road fatalities here in South Africa. Now, the campaign will be enforced, they say, in all 9 provinces. The announcement follows a string of accidents over the long weekend. Most crashes being blamed on human behaviour, and this 24-hour operation was then set up to increase police visibility and ensure greater impact. Well, we are now joined by the Group Marketing Manager from Master Drive, Eugene Herbert. Very good morning to you, Eugene. Thanks for being with us.
Morning, Evan.
It was a bloody weekend, but long weekends always are, it seems, in South Africa. We drive very poorly. Do you think visible policing is enough for us to deal with the carnage that we are seeing?
Clearly, visible policing on its own is not sufficient. However, it does have positive benefits. I think when you look at stuff that's been done abroad, if there are policemen present, traffic officials, it does tend to encourage better behaviour with motorists. And in fact, they've gone to the point where putting cardboard cutouts, and motorists slow down if they think there's a policeman over there. Yeah. So there is that, but our motorists, being who they are, tend to catch on very quickly, and therefore they revert to normal behaviour.
You talk about our motorists being who they are. Who are they?
Well, I think in order to put into context, we need to see what the typical driver is. And I don't know that you can actually typify one, but to have a vehicle and to have a driver's license is a passport to freedom. It's an opportunity to get a job. Now, historically, and in fact, right at this point in time, we're very conscious of the fact that many driver's licenses have been obtained fraudulently. Yeah. So with little skill and no expertise, they put onto the roads in a weapon which effectively entitles them to run amok. And without adequate preparation, training and education, they become a danger to you and I on the road.
Yeah, and we see that in the pictures, of course, on screen don't lie. But I spoke to the traffic police officials a little bit earlier, and I want to get this question in very early, because I was a little bit perturbed with what I heard. When we talk about, you know, the relationship between officialdom and the road users, and the person who spoke on behalf of the management agency said that people should not corrupt traffic officials on the road. How do you view that kind of statement?
I was sitting in the back watching that, and literally my jaw dropped. And I agree that they should not be doing or cooperating with corrupt officials. Yeah. But the officials in the first instance are corrupt. They've grown accustomed to getting additional money, so-called lunch money, and therefore they become very brave and brazen about it. And whilst no motorist should do that, one can understand the predicament on occasion that they're caught in, where the officer's making it a choice between being locked up or some horrific fine and a mere monetary contribution.
The obvious problem that we have in South Africa is twofold. Yes, it's enforcement of the laws, but it's also adhering to the rules of the road. We don't even know how to walk on the roads as pedestrians. How do we fix the 360 view?
The 3 pillars of road safety are basically engineering, good quality roads, there's education and enforcement. And if one looks at education, notwithstanding the fact that the various authorities have road safety practitioners out there, how effective is the education? Yeah. Just because I give you a book doesn't mean you can read it. So let's teach the people to read and understand what they're engaging in, and then in all likelihood, they will probably respond better.
You talk about the changing of the attitude and how bad the attitude is that we have on the road, and education and all these things, and behavior needs to change. How do we do that, though?
I think the studies that we've done, we've seen that, you know, you take the average person who aspires to get a license, typically amongst disadvantaged communities, may have driven in the back of a taxi, who are not the greatest examples of good behaviour on the road. And as a result of it, that behaviour becomes commonplace and acceptable. Yeah. Therefore, when they get their license, they don't see the need to change. So where we find a very strong movement is at corporate level, where they drive this through to individuals, establish a culture of respect for law and authority and for order. You know, if leadership don't set the right example, I remember seeing a minister get into the back of a motor car and not buckle up. Yeah. Now, that's what should be normal, but they're not doing that. Lead by example.
What about the demerit system that's being put forward as the miracle cure to all of our behavioral problems that we have on the roads?
The spirit of it should cure many of our problems that we have, but is it possibly Pandora's box? that you're opening up to all sorts of other things which have unintended consequences. But last time on the station we discussed the fact that if people do not break the law, they have got nothing to fear from the implementation of the AUTO Act.
You touched on a little bit earlier, you said that there are a lot of people, licensed drivers, who bought their licenses. Should we not take a view that it's time for all South Africa's drivers to be retested and to kind of hand in their license and go again? Is that a plausible thing? Is that a solution?
Many of the drivers on our roads today never took what is currently the K53 system. And I'm inclined to believe, and I don't exclude anyone in this room necessarily, that if they went for that test, I question whether or not they'd pass.
Yes.
So let's accept that that may not be the solution or the utopian solution, but there are other solutions that can complement that by educating motorists with regard to what they should do and how they can do it, and engage in positive and constructive behavior on the road.
What about all these campaigns and all the money that we're seeing are being spent on campaigns, Arrive, Alive? There's a plethora of them and lots of money go into them. Do these campaigns work?
Well, if I can just refer to one, and I'm not against campaigns, but it was a Arrive Alive campaign, and they're up in the airs and the aeroplane towing this big banner. Now, it's encouraging road safety, but what is the first thing a motorist does? He looks up, looks at the aircraft in there, and he possibly runs into a car in front. So the wisdom or the methodology behind the implementation of some of their campaigns are a little bit suspect.
The way forward, if you had to come up with a short, medium and long-term view very quickly.
Well, if we had access to greater funds, because currently what it costs the fiscus by way of crashes on the roads is 174 billion rand and a year. It's about 3.4% of GDP. If that was directed to constructive projects within an environment where people could be educated, starting off at the youngest levels, and then a graduation process where a person, before they get their license, which entitles them to drive freely, should be awarded a system where they can ensure that once on the road they're safe. It happens and it works very successfully in other parts of the world, and there's no reason why, if the political will is there and the desire and the intent by the motorist to comply, that we can't succeed.
Eugene, thank you very much for joining us today. Very interesting views. The Group Marketing Manager from Master Drive, Eugene Herbert, talking to us about, well, why are we behaving so badly on the roads? You certainly do.